A very good evening and warm welcome to all the participants. As usual, this Friday also we have a very big guest, a proven leader, Mr. R.V. Sridhar joining us. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sridhar. Very good evening and welcome, sir, to this conversation.
Thank you.
We are extremely delighted to host you this evening, sir, and we are all looking forward to hear from you on the corporate turnaround strategies and how innovation leadership can help that. To begin, I will make a brief introduction of the guest, and then I will hand it over to Mr. Sridhar to start his presentation. Allow me to share my screen, please. These are Wise Views Leadership Conversations, and this is the 80th leadership conversation we are having. We are extremely happy that a large number of professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders from all walks of life join every Friday evening for this conversation. Thank you so much. Today, as I mentioned, we are talking about corporate turnaround through leadership and innovation with Mr. R.V. Sridhar. He's the Executive Director, ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India Limited. The first 30 minutes, including this introduction, will be, along with the talk of Mr. Sridhar, will be the first session, and the second session is the next 30 minutes, the Q&A moderated by my colleague, Professor Prasad, and myself. Mr. R.V. Sridhar is the Executive Director downstream at ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India Limited, AMNS India. In his current capacity, he manages one of AMNS India's significant business units covering an annual business turnover of 23,000 crores, spanning 5 million tons of steel and another 2 million tons upcoming across 5 plants and conversion points spread across 2 countries. In his earlier assignment as ED and CEO of SR Steel pre-coated facility, he turned around the business from being a loss maker to one of SR Steel's most profitable SBUs through process innovation and working capital management. He achieved a consistent more than 97% plant utilization level, the highest customer satisfaction index, and an enviable employee engagement index of 84%. He was also responsible for turning around the company's Indonesia business. Mr. Sridhar has also been conferred the Steel CEO of the Year 2017 award by the Steel Users Federation of India. Prior to this, Mr. Sridhar was the global business head of SR's 7,000 crore downstream and auto division, one of India's largest downstream businesses. That's fantastic, sir. With an excellent record in building high-performance teams and over 30 years in the steel industry covering both public and private sectors, he also holds extensive experience of Africa, having worked for 4 years with the East African steel major MRM Limited. Mr. Sridhar has traveled to over 80 countries and has presented papers at many steel conferences with critical acclaim. With extensive WTO, anti-dumping, anti-subsidy experience, having handled investigations against Indian steel exports to Indonesia, Europe, he was also the sole private sector representative for Kenya in WTO's 5th Ministerial Conference at Mexico. He has also worked with the International Trading Division at Tata Steel and SAIL. He re-engineered Tata Steel outbound logistics models as part of the Booz Allen Hamilton team, achieving significant cost reduction. He has spearheaded 8 QIPs in Tata Steel, winning MDVP awards. Mr. Sridhar holds a master's degree in international business from the prestigious IIFT New Delhi and is a physics postgraduate in quantum electronics, fiber optics, and communications. He has won many academic spurs during his career and was the topper at his PG University, English in AISCE, and at school. As a person, he is hardworking, enterprising, and creative, takes pride in his work, and thrives on challenges. What a wonderful profile, sir. We are extremely delighted to have you this evening with us. We couldn't have asked for more. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak with us this evening. One more introduction I have to make. My senior colleague, Professor R. Prasad, he is the Director of Academic Wing. He is also on the panel. He brings 3 decades of rich experience as an entrepreneur, as a professional corporate professional, as well as an academician, all put together. He holds a BTech from IIT Bombay and a PGDM from the prestigious IIM Kolkata. And he published several articles, edited books, and also presented several papers in conferences held in India and abroad. I welcome Professor Prasad as well, and thank you. With this, I would like to stop sharing my screen and I'll request Mr. R.V. Sridhar to enlighten us and take us around what is all this turnaround business and how leadership and innovation can help us building these turnaround strategies. Thank you so much. So once again, I welcome you. And when you are ready, we'll share the presentation.
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. Yeah, good evening to all of you. I'm Executive Director and CEO of the downstream business of ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel. ArcelorMittal is one of the largest steel company in the world, and Nippon Steel is the third largest steel company in the world. It's a joint venture between these two steel giants, and they bring their experience, global experience, to India. And as you know, India is trying to achieve a total consumption and production of steel of 300 million tons by 2030, by end of this decade. At this point of time, we are at 140 million tons and the second largest steel producing nation in the world. Of course, China is far ahead, 900 millions and all that, but we are moving towards it. And steel contributes nearly 4% of the country's GDP, India's GDP. So steel is so versatile, it's almost used in all products. It's used in highways, infrastructure, construction, white goods, automobiles, and so on and so forth. So I am the current CEO of this 23,000 crore turnover business. But where did it all start? I started from a very small sort of beginning. My total experience in industry is about 30 years, but I became the CEO about 9 years back. I started with a company, again, SR Steel downstream facility, which was a turnover of 1,400 crores, and which was making a loss of about 8 to 10 crores every month, negative EBITDA. From that time onwards, the story began, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about, the innovation which was instrumental in turning this unit around and which became a case study. Ahmedabad wanted to do a case study on us of this turnaround story, and we'll give you some glimpse of it. So let's start with the first sort of slide. Again, to give you introduction about ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India, we are a 9 million tons plant. We manufacture more than 300 grades of steel into automobiles, white goods, construction, and so on and so forth. I manage about 5 million tons. Go back to the previous slide, please. I manage 5 million tons, and 2 million tons is a further under capacity expansion by end of next year. It's a total about 23,000 crores. We are exporting to 110 countries around the world and counting. Okay, so let's start. What is this? This is a carburetor. What is the function of a carburetor in a car? It mixes fuel and air in a separate chamber, and that mixed fuel and air is then injected into the engine. But is the carburetor necessary? Why can't we have a direct fuel injection? So, this is just an analogy which I'm giving, okay? Eliminating unnecessary processes and thereby reducing costs is an innovation, is a process innovation. This is in the auto industry. I'm just giving you an analogy, and this is what we have done in our steel company, okay? I told you we were at 1,400 crores and we were making negative EBITDA of about 8 to 10 crores a month. Now, before I tell you what this innovation is with regard to what we were manufacturing, one of the products which we manufacture is called color-coated. All the color-coated roofs and all which you see in the country, 60% we have a market share. And as I mentioned to you, we export to about 110 countries around the world. What is color-coated steel? It's a steel substrate on top of which you put a primer and then you put a paint on top of the primer. Similarly, on the bottom side, you apply primer and then you apply the paint. What is the function of a primer? It helps to adhere the paint to the steel substrate. So the primer is doing the same job on the top side of the strip as well as on the bottom side of the strip. Okay, so whatever primer and paint which is put on the steel strip, it has to be cured and baked in an oven. Now, if you eliminate a primer and have a paint which has got a built-in primer, both on the top side and the bottom side, what happens? You save the material cost of a primer. But however, when you put primer and a paint on a steel substrate, you require two ovens. One oven for curing and baking the primer, another oven for curing and baking the paint. Since you're not using a primer, you can mothball one oven entirely. Now, so much of power cost is saved. Now, by the simple expedient, by making the paint to have a built-in primer And since you're not using a primer and therefore you are mothballing an oven, you are saving a total 3,000 rupees per ton cost saving in the production process. This is a process innovation. I have just given you a bare outline. Okay, 20% is because of the material saving of not using a primer, and 80% is because of the power cost, which has been facilitated because of mothballing one of the ovens. So this is a 3,000 rupees saving. So what was a loss-making unit suddenly becomes profitable. Okay, and this innovation, again, I repeat, we are not giving you the full details, just the bare outline details. Okay, has been copied by many people, but however, not many have succeeded. So this process innovation is just an example. Let's go to the next slide. You must have heard of Huawei. It started popularizing narrowband IoT, Internet of Things, using inexpensive sensors. All these big shots, General Electric, Siemens, and all never used it. So by revolutionizing and thereby reducing the cost by using inexpensive sensors, and they have also established an industry standard, the same likeness like what we did with the, I just mentioned you in the previous slide, that we have started avoiding the primer. And such a product is called a Unicoat. We popularized it, and similarly, this Huawei also did the same thing on similar lines. So whatever you do becomes the industry standard. Just to give you an example, in the case of Huawei. Let's go to the next slide. Now, where did this idea come from? This is where you must be a good listener. This has come from the grassroots, the workers. Just to give you an example, Lego, which is one of the manufacturers of toys and all that, it has got an online community called AFOL, Adult Followers of Lego. All the various combinations of new models and all are built by crowdsourcing of ideas. The idea which I mentioned to you, the process innovation, the so-called Unicode, has been taken crowdsourcing from our own workers, grassroots workers. So you must be open, literally and figuratively, to listen to feedback from people. On every Saturday, I keep my doors open, literally, and of course, figuratively as well. So people to come in and give me ideas. We have what is called the coffee with CEO. Anybody can come. The lowest workers can come and give me ideas, and you profit by this. So be a good listener. This is what is called innovator's dilemma. Clayton Christensen is the author of this book. Kodak versus Fujifilm. Kodak was into what you call as bricks and mortar. It used to produce films, whereas Fuji came and revolutionized with what is called the digital films. Now, so Kodak went into bankruptcy. It was one of the largest producers, the most profitable. But if you do not innovate, if you do not preempt change, if you do not anticipate change, and if you are still in the old paradigms of working, you become bankrupt. Another example, Netflix versus Blockbuster. Blockbuster and Netflix used to give video rentals. Blockbuster kept its accountants very active. If a person delayed in giving back the video rentals, they used to charge late fees. Such things makes accountants very happy. It's an accountant's paradise, but it will not give pleasure to the customers, delight to the customers. However, Netflix eliminated those pain points. They said unlimited time you can take the video rentals as long as you wish, and then you can give me back at your convenience. So anybody who eliminates customers' pain points becomes successful. Blockbuster went into bankruptcy. Another example, Microsoft versus IBM. Microsoft was a forerunner of PCs, personal computers. IBM stuck to old-fashioned mainframes and all that. You know what it is. Microsoft is far higher in capitalization, innovation, so on and so forth. So what I mean to say is innovation and be in a position to be ahead of the curve, anticipate and preempt change. You have to be an iconoclast. Okay, that's the word. Innovation, learning, knowledge, and communication. We go to the next facet of a successful leader. Give you the example of Deng Xiaoping. Okay, he was the supreme leader of China. He says, I seek truth from facts. Always base your judgments on facts, and you seek truth from it. Another point, when you cross a river, feel for the stepping stones. Do not rush headlong. You do experiment, see if it is successful, and then go to the next step. So there should be no shock therapy. So this is a beautiful sentence. crossing the river by feeding for the stepping stones. This is what China has done, and you see from one of the lowest cost GDPs and per capita incomes to one of the second largest economy in the world. I always follow this mantra of Sam Walton. He is the founder of Walmart. He says, I have two mantras in life. What is cost reduction and set very high expectations. When you are a leader of team, always have very high expectations. What is called as a reality distortion field by, you know who is the founder of, what should I say, Apple. I hope this is an interactive session. He has coined a term called reality distortion field. If I'm at this level, you must imagine being at a much higher level, which is far higher than this. And you must enthuse your team to follow to that, go to the high level. That's what is about setting high expectations. Next, this is another example of innovation. Audi, V8. When it is on the German autobahns, huge highways and all that, fast highways and all, it has got 8 cylinders. Audi has got 8 cylinders. Some of the cylinders are deactivated to conserve on power. When you do not require them, you switch off certain cylinders. This is called a dynamic cylinder deactivation. If Audi can do this to conserve power, why can't you? If I have a plant which is running, and if some parts of the plant are not required to run, why don't you switch them off? This is an example. It's not that simple as I'm speaking. So you will have to take cognizance of this, and cost reduction is a big thing to be successful. Next slide, please. Heard of this gentleman called George Paulo Lehman. He is the founder of 3G Capital. Okay. Now, Nestle and 3G Capital. What is the difference between them? Nestle and Unilever. They believe in incrementalism, step-by-step growth, state culture, laid-back culture, tinkerer mentality. However, if you have a proactive culture, belief in radical innovation, radical changes, emphasis on cost reduction, and be an iconoclast, where you challenge existing theories and existing norms and all that. That is the culture in which we look at it. Be ambitious for yourself and for the company. So the difference, you see, Nestle's operating profit is 15%, Unilever's operational profit is 16%, whereas 3G Capital is 27%. 3G Capital, they take over distressed assets and then turn them around. For example, Kraft and Heinz they were distressed assets which 3G Capital acquired, okay, and then turned them around. Okay, so, and then they made an audacious bid for Unilever as well. But however, they did not succeed. That's a different matter. So the message which I'm going to give is radical innovation. Okay, no step-by-step, it's no incrementalism. You have to believe in cost reduction, and not just a tinkerer. It has to be an innovation-driven cost reduction. Sweating the assets to increase productivity. In my plant, I have a capacity utilization index. In fact, he has given in the preamble, introduction to 97%. So this is one of the reasons why you reduce cost. Okay, I started with one unit, with one plant, 1,400 crores. I made it into a 5,000. I increased the top line from 1,400 crores to 5,000 crores, and a bottom line from a negative EBITDA of 8 to 10 crores to almost 45 to 50 crores positive EBITDA per month. Success of this unit added to me other units one by one. So today I manage 5 units, 5 plants, total 23,000 crores. All of them run to 97% full capacity. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, please. Another important thing is communication. I just look at this, this board. I have mentioned all across my plant, if you were to save 1 unit of power, so much is the cost, saving in rupees. If you save 1 kg of propane, so much is the cost reduction. If you save 1 gram of zinc, so much is the cost saving. If you have 1% gross reduction, so much is the saving. Now, this sort of cost consciousness has to be drilled down to the masses, grassroots level. We have such boards in Hindi, English, and Marathi. in the case of Maharashtra plants, Hindi, English, and Gujarati in the case of Gujarat plants, and Hindi, so not Hindi, of course, English and Bahasa in Indonesia. So point is, you have to be communicative. You should, as much as possible, communicate to the grassroots. You can enthuse people if you share your expectations from them with them. Not only cost-saving measures, your achievements. If your team has succeeded, please publish those achievements all across the plant. And when I say all across, in the main offices, in the plants, in the buses which take your employees, in your community halls, in your canteens, everywhere. Let people take pride in their achievements. Not only communication of the targets, but also their achievements, and of course, cost reduction as well. So communication is an important facet for a leader. What is this Zappos? It's an online shoe retailer. Okay, it believes in holacracy. What is holacracy? That almost decentralization of management, flat organization, and each element of the organization itself is a leader. That's called holacracy. So you delegate responsibility and accountability. You make them feel as leaders. If you can do that to your team, you have achieved a lot of success. Then again, they believe in quick delivery. This is called the Zappos experience. I mean, if you go to their website, they say, if you place an order, the order will be processed in 8 minutes. That's their benchmark, touchstone for the success. So speed of delivery is very important. And then they have a school of wow. What is wow? All those customers who have been delighted by their customer service and customer experience. Okay, they post recommendations and endorsements in public. So we also have an online community where my customers post their endorsements and their recommendations. So create a happy culture of endorsements and satisfied customers. It's called the Zappos experience. Quick delivery. And when you make people believe they are leaders, they will be taking quick decisions. They do not have to refer to the top. In Google, if you looked at their visiting cards, they call themselves Jolly Good Fellow, which nobody can deny. They are delivering happiness. They're not delivering products. They're not delivering services. They're delivering products. So they're delivering happiness. Same thing with Virgin Atlantic. And of course, Zappos, as I mentioned. So you have to create that positive environment. Go to the next slide, please. Lord Shiva, Ardhanarishwara. The left side is Mother Parvati. Sympathy, empathy, affection, sensitivity. You must be very considerate to the employees. Okay, listen to them. What are their problems are? Empathize with them. Be sensitive. Even the toughest of messages can be given in the best of voices, best of language. Okay, so that's the Parvati side of the management. Then you have Shiva, discipline, no compromise on integrity. So it's a combination of both, makes a good leader. It's called androgynous leadership. The mother and the father aspects of leadership, the male and the female aspects of leadership. Yeah, go to the next slide, please. Remember this androgynous leadership. Then the next one is this. In my company, I have given my sales team a target. Of course, you will attack all the major cities in the country: Bombay, Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, etc., etc. But you should go to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 cities. That's where the maximum India is growing. There's a rural hinterland which is immune to the cycles of business cycles. Elsewhere, you swim and sink with the tides. Okay. Today, we are experiencing a bit of a downturn in the global business. Both in India, of course, is in a way immune to global business cycles, but still you cannot be far away. You cannot have this immunity for long. India is also going to suffer the GDP erosion after some time. The world is under a recession. US, UK, inflation 11% in UK, US 8% inflation. China, GDP growth has come down to 3.8%. However, India still maintains at 7.1, but it's not going to be there for long because you're going to be affected by global cycles. However, the rural parts, the semi-urban parts, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities have not been affected. So this geographical diversification into the hinterland will help you achieve a higher net sales realization, higher prices, and so on. What is EBITDA? Reducing the cost and increasing the price. That's how you get the better EBITDA. Go to the next slide, please. Yeah, let's go to the next slide, please. This is the cinema theater equation. More than the ticket per se, they get value out of the popcorns and Coca-Cola and etc. Okay, so they say, I've made a slogan in my company: we don't sell more steel, we sell more of steel, which means we give you a lot of services, customer experience, various things which go along with the product. Just as Coca-Cola and popcorn are more than the ticket, the cinema ticket itself. Okay, coming back to the same thing as product innovation, you will be surprised to know that steel imitates nature. We have marble finish, steel imitating nature. We have wood finish. Look at this. It's a wood finish. It is not made of wood. It is made of steel. It is made of marble. And we have anti-dirt roofs, which means the dirt will not fall on this. In India, you have so much of election graffiti on walls. So anti-dirt roofs, we are anti-dirt walls, which is what we are trying to propagate. So even if there is election graffiti, anybody writes anything, it can just go away. So this is an innovation. Similarly, India is a hot and humid country. Okay. Now, if I have a roof which will reflect away heat, there is a perceptible drop of about 3 to 4 degrees centigrade. It will give you an artificial air conditioning effect. So we are propagating such roofs as well. That is to say, roofs which reflect heat, roofs which will clean themselves. You don't have to put sulfur or anything else. So these are all product innovations. Let's look at this. This is an automobile. I told you our company is also into automobile business in a big way. The front portion of this car is the stabilizer bar. It keeps the vehicle on an even keel. Okay. So that particular stabilizer bar was made out of solid steel. Nowadays, there is what is a concept called lightweighting of steel. Okay. So our company said, why can't we increase the strength of steel and that solid bar, make it a hollow bar? Hollow bar of steel gives you the same strength as the solid bar, which means you increase the inherent strength of steel which is used there. So, Mercedes and Mercedes-Benz and BMW, all these cars which are manufactured in India, and the stabilizer bars is made out of our high-strength steel. And this is also exported worldwide. So this is an innovation. Similarly, you must have heard of Volvo Eicher, which is based in Indore. We have manufactured for them, we give steel for them, 49-tonner truck which they have made is made of our steel. It's called the Domex steel, the high-strength steel. India's submarines are made out of our high corrosion resistant steel. And you see this Mumbai to Ahmedabad, the bullet train is again made of our high-strength steel. We are into various parts of the country in most of the iconic buildings, iconic applications and all that. It is our steel. It is the same thing I was talking about, the stabilizer bar. Now let's look at this concept called institutional voids. Tata Motors, okay, come up with this innovation. You have an auto which carries about 500 kg, 400 kg. That was the transportation earlier in India. On the other side, other extreme, you have 16-tonner truck, 17-tonner truck. Between this 17-tonner truck and between this 400 or 500 kg of auto, there was nothing in between. It was an institutional void. This is a concept which has been propagated by Tarun Khanna and Krishna Palapu of Harvard University. Now, Tata Motors said, this institutional void, empty space, why can't we capture it with a 1-tonner Tata Ace truck, 2-tonner truck, 3-tonner truck? So it has revolutionized transportation in India, trucking in India, 1-tonner truck, 2-tonner truck, 3-tonner truck. So the same concept we have used in ourselves, You have galvanized steel and you have color-coated steel. Between them, you have a 20,000 rupees difference. Why can't I position another product at, say, 10,000 rupees difference with galvanized for the rural market, for the semi-urban market? So this is exploiting institutional voids. This is what is called as a blue ocean strategy. Okay. Now, what is this? I will not go for contested market spaces. I will go for uncharted market spaces, uncontested market spaces. I will go for blue ocean where blood is not spilled. You fight against your competitor and blood is spilled. I will not go for red oceans. I will go for blue oceans, uncontested market space. Just to give you an example, I tell my sales team, plot a pie chart wherever the Chinese are exporting. Okay, wherever China exports, and if you export to that country, you lose about $80 to $100 because you are not in competition. You cannot compete with them. They're too cost competitive. However, we found that the Chinese have a blind spot in a country called Argentina in Latin America or in Bolivia, etc. So exploit the blind spots of the Chinese. Wherever they don't export, if you export to that uncontested market space, you get a much higher premium. I mean, you get much higher price. If you can do this worldwide, why not in India? My competitors, I don't want, you know who they are, I don't want to name them. They're not into interior Maharashtra, Sangli, Nanded, etc. They're not into upper reaches of Rajasthan. So if they're not there, if there's a blind spot for them, why can't I go there in the domestic space? So this is what is called blue ocean strategy. Again, this is, go back to the previous slide. This is a flying geese model. You know, the head geese sets an example and others follow. Okay. So I have a slogan to my team: where we tread, others follow, like the head geese. Thank you.
That's an amazing talk, sir. Where you tread, we also follow, because of the leadership lessons that you have given us today through all the examples of product innovation, process innovation, how to handle people and how to actually cite opportunities. And there is a huge strategic depth in every action that you have taken, and you distilled these lessons for us. Thank you so much for doing this presentation so wonderfully well. Without wasting any further time, what I will do is I'll request my colleague, Professor R. Prasad, to come in now and start the first cluster of the Q&A. Sir, these questions are collected from various participants. They key in their questions at the time of registration. So we have landscaped these questions and put it into clusters now. And we are beginning the first cluster. Over to you, Professor Prasad. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rao. A very engaging session, which not only gave us insights into what ArcelorMittal does, but also how it gets connected to the other industries and the basic principles which are followed in each of this. So the first question is related to the steel industry. For the audience, would you be able to give us an overview where we can see the challenges, the drivers, and the trends which are currently happening?
Look, as I mentioned to you, one of the trends is lightweighting of vehicles in auto industry. So we are at the forefront. Again, India's defense, okay, submarines, and I don't want to get into further details because it's classified. So we are into all these in a big way. And more importantly, the consumption. India is one of the lowest per capita consumptions of steel in the world. So about 70 overall average. I would even say embarrassingly low as 20 kgs in the rural areas and about 120 in the urban areas. In rural areas, we're even lower than the sub-Saharan Africa. So popularizing steel. Steel is recyclable. Steel is, what should I say, is very versatile. Okay, your highways, building guardrails, what crash barriers on highways, and at each 5 kilometers on the highways you have toll nakas, or we call as those checkpoints and all that. These are all made of steel. Okay, yeah, Pradhan Mantri's what we call Awas Yojana, building low-cost houses. Then India's dream to go into solar in a big way. Right now we have about 80 to 100 gigawatts of renewable energy. By end of this decade, we would like to go to 500 gigawatts so decarbonization and renewable energy, all that is steel. Okay, solar uses big steel in a way. So I talked to you about solar. I talked to you about highways. India is building highways at the rate of 45 kilometers per day. So all this is steel consumption. Okay, and I talked to you about low-cost houses. Another interesting thing, Swachh Bharat Yojana. India has built about 120 million toilets. It is one of the largest toilet program in the world. And in fact, ArcelorMittal has been at the forefront of building toilets and supplying steel for it. So I've given you various examples. Okay.
Excellent, sir. I think you have essentially identified a number of opportunities, a number of new areas which give us an idea of what can be done in each of those areas. The next question, sir, is about essentially the word corporate turnaround. I mean, without looking at the innovation and leadership that you've mentioned about, is always looked at when the ship is sinking. But the question is that why do companies delay till it reaches a stage where turnaround is needed? Could you throw some light involved? What are the issues involved?
Let me tell you, it is not necessarily when the company is down. For example, I gave a Kodak versus Fujifilm. Kodak was doing very well. It did not anticipate change. It did not preempt change. It was not ahead of the curve. You could be in a comfortable position, but always anticipate change. Tomorrow's change can make you, totally destroyed. So you do not have to wait for the last moment.
Excellent, sir. I think so.
Always believe in customer delight. For example, I gave you Netflix versus Blockbuster, IBM versus Microsoft. Always anticipate and preempt change.
Yeah, I think that's a leading indicator. Whether one is making losses or not making losses, indeed, it is a leading indicator. And that's pretty good advice to the audience. Sir, there have been a number of, recently there has been a example of, Phoenix ARC, the asset reconstruction company offering to buy Mittal Corp. So what is the role of asset reconstruction companies in turnarounds, in such turnarounds?
You see, they are, like, for example, this George Paulo Lehman, 3G Capital. 3G Capital is a, investor company which, squeezes the, what I have said is sweating the assets, squeezing the zero-based budgeting of cost budgeting, and then squeezing the last drop. Okay, so reducing cost and all. So they do that, and then they sell it to others. They turn around, make it profitable, and then they sell it to others. So this is one such example.
So can you give us an example of one of the challenges that you have encountered? Of course, you did mention about the SR steel part. And can you give us a little more flavor beyond the innovation of how you moved around, beyond the costs, beyond that value addition? Is there anything else you'd like to add, build a more complete picture on
that? There are 3 or 4 things. One is, of course, the cost. Second is the net sales realization. I gave you examples of blue ocean and institutional voids and all that, trying to unexplored, uncontested market space. So sales realization, costs. And then again, employee engagement. We have a very high employee engagement, and this is important. I have a union, and I'm in ArcelorMittal fraternity. My 5 units are the only ones which is unionized. Despite having a unionized workforce, we are number 1 with regard to employee engagement index on Avon-Hewitt model. Okay, Avon-Hewitt model is very rigorous, and 84% is a very high employee engagement index. So unless you have that, and unless the employees are engaged, involved, you will not have a turnaround.
Can you give us some measures, steps which you have taken to ensure that the engagement goes to a certain extent?
Yeah, so I told you, coffee with CEO on every Saturday. People do come, sit with me, give their opinions. If they are heard and valued, that itself is a major boast. People are not looking after salaries. In fact, I took a look. It's nice to say that once you reach the stage and you reach the salary, it's nice to say that you don't require. But however, what are those factors which drive us? It is the passion. It is the fulfillment. It is the self-satisfaction which you get.
Fine. I think 2 critical measures. One is listening and trying to see what the other person has to say, and getting to their passion and seeing how that can be brought into what the company does. And
I give you the example of androgynous leadership, combining the male and the female aspect, the Shiva and the Shakti aspects of management.
There are a couple of more questions, but I think you already covered them in your presentation. So I end this cluster and hand it back to Professor Rao.
Thank you very much. I want to acknowledge the fact that a large number of people have joined today from various parts of the country, and a couple of them from abroad as well. I welcome Professor Venkatraman, who has joined from Gurgaon. He is an academic leader there. And I also welcome Professor Jahangir, who joined from Osmania University. Most welcome, sir. And I also acknowledge Abhishek Bhattacharya, who is our alumnus who joined. Thank you, Abhishek, for joining. Sir, in this next cluster, we talk about very simple things. The simple things, meanwhile, the participants can be ready to raise your questions directly. We'll open the mic for you. You can raise your hand. So one question, the first one is culture of people versus culture of organization. How a turnaround can be applied in this context? More often, the turnaround is culture of people versus culture of organization. How you look at this dimension, and what have been your experiences?
Both have to be aligned. Okay, Netflix has promoted 120 sort of facets of culture. Openness, listening, making the people valued, giving them the sort of thing that they are valued, their opinions count, and then being fair. These are some of the things, This is how, and people should not be afraid to speak the truth. In fact, in our organization, even Abhishek will confirm, we have called it the ethics line. It is open to all. Anybody can send messages if they are not okay. Ethics line is open to all. Any person at the lowest rung of the organization can give instant feedback.
Amazing. Openness to take feedback, and that's how culture is imprinted into the organization. That's fantastic, sir.
And we also have instant recognitions also. In fact, as simple thing as a chocolate ball on your table, and anybody who says, give it to him. I mean, then you have a prize night, awards night or something like that, and then employees are recognized for their contribution. We do have all those things, and then we have something called praise. We give certificates, they're praising you. So that is there. And then, of course, we do send people to various places as gift vouchers and all that. In fact, we have, in one of the units, out of the 630 employees, we have given gift vouchers to almost 400 of them. And then instant recognition, praise, and so on and so forth. This has to be, it is not a spasmodic once in a while. It has to be a continuous evolutionary sort of thing. Regular, you should not break it. This is how you keep up the morale.
Amazing. It has to be organization's cultural setup. It has to be institution's agenda to actually praise, reward, and recognize all the individuals who have achieved. But sir, you have also mentioned that you communicate it very well, and which you did. The accomplishments of a particular division all together have been written on the boards in the buses that ply the employees as well. That's a very interesting aspect that you have carried out and explained to us. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, what are your views on collaborative leadership? Is it possible or is it just a theory?
Look, all this is nice fun. There is a Sanskrit word called arajakta.
Sorry, sir.
Sanskrit word called arajakta. That means having no king. Okay, king is one. There is only one prime minister. You cannot have multiple prime ministers. Okay, Viprok, what you call as experimented with two bosses. Anybody who has experimented with more than one boss has doomed. The boss has to be one. Okay. There has to be decisive, and however, you should collaborate. You should listen to all and then take all of them along.
Okay, listen to all, collaborate with people, take them together. Yeah,
but the decision has to be one. The leader is one. You cannot, at the apex of the organization, the leader is one.
Yeah, I get it. At the top level, the leader is one, but at a lateral level, there has to be collaboration, and we need to make sure everyone actually travels together. Very interesting. These discussions are getting more and more interesting, and I request the participants to raise their hands so that we open the mic for them. And I go to the next question. I'm saving a lot of time for your participation as well. Sir, we are quite keen on knowing this as a kind of an special interest for us, and also probably a few of them around the screen. What do you think are the prerequisites of a leader in an educational institution?
Knowledge. Experiential learning. Most of the thought experiment should come from you guys. Okay, you should. You have such inquisitive crowd, keen to learn. Okay, keen to experiment. We all fall into a rut, for a period of time. But fresh thinking, breath of fresh air has to come from you guys, especially from the students. There are many great guys who have come to our company, and that those who have challenged us. In fact, I can write a book on this, and then some of the interesting things which they have implemented is excellent. We have what is called as a business excellence program, improvement projects and all that. Most of them have been spearheaded by youngsters from IIMs and IITs and all that.
Amazing stories, actually. Thank you very much, sir. We have talked about one of the strategies is to focus on the tier 2, tier 3 cities as well, the rural cluster focus, or semi-urban rural cluster focus. While it is true not only for your business, that business of steel, but it is true for many other businesses as well. So
FMCG, for example, Wipro consumer business is there in the Economic Times 3 days back. Wipro consumer business, they're exploiting the rural market.
Right. So in this context, there's one question that has come up is what are the model, say, innovative steps for growth of rural banking business? I think probably one from that domain has asked this question.
Look, credit is a big sort of concern in India. Why has China grown? Because of Tencent and JD.com and Alibaba. They have started giving microcredit. So this is one area where we should look into. But nobody can give blindly credit. It has to be backed by insurance. So this sort of credit financing and even selling steel via credit cards and all that. So this is something which we have to revolutionize microfinance.
We have to revolutionize microfinance. Yeah.
On the lines, why is China? It's because of this microfinance and JD.com, Alibaba, and Tencent, all these examples.
Thank you. So the next question in this cluster is, how do we portray leadership when you are a new manager of people with whom you used to be just friends and colleagues?
Everybody should know their role. If one among the team becomes a leader, okay, now it's an organization decision. Good or bad, it's a decision. And if they don't obey, it's insubordination. So there has to be a role clarity. Once he becomes a leader, he should not put on airs, but then that hierarchy is there, so to speak, in the sense that he should behave like a leader. What is a leader? Leader is one who leads from the front, not pushes from behind. He has to protect his people. Okay, he must berate them or trying to, scrutinize them in private, publicly support. This is one of the hallmarks of a leader. Publicly defend, privately take them to task.
Publicly dissent and take
defend, protect and
defend.
Defend and protect publicly. Your team should look up to you. Okay, they must feel secure in front of you.
Amazing. Over your vast experience, could you give maybe one example or two examples of the challenges involved in doing this? It's not easy. We have read this also earlier in books. We have seen this and heard from others as well. Most of the people who are on the screen are probably around 10 years of their leadership ladder. And they would like to understand, are there any challenges involved? What are the pitfalls when we are trying to do these things? Publicly defend and privately scrutinize, take him to task. In this model, what are the pitfalls that we need to watch out for, challenges that we need to watch out for? One or two examples from your experience.
I give you an example. You must have heard of Koregaon Bhima case near Pune. That is to say, during this Modi government's first term, when Devendra Fadnavis was the chief minister of Maharashtra, some of these Kashmiri, what you call that fellow, JNU leader, all of these people created a big ruckus just 1 kilometer from our plant. Okay, it's called the Koregaon Bhima. You must have heard it in newspapers and all. And in that case, it's still going. All these Maoists and disgruntled elements from our public domain, they were all there, and then they're making a lot of noise. Now, that day, most of the plants were closed. I took the decision, let's run the plant fully. Then sometime around 11:30, 12, we got the news that there was a lot of commotion, there was a riot, and people started running out from that. Now, if anybody runs from that place, which is just less than 1 kilometer from our place, then they will come to our plant, because that was the only one. So I immediately sort of evacuated first the ladies, then the youngsters, and so on and so forth. Finally, me and my management team were the last to evacuate till everybody has gone. Through the, we had already programmed if something were to happen, we'll evacuate them through the back door and all that, which we did.
Wonderful example. In moments of crisis and in adversity, we put people first before us, and then we take care of them. That's an amazing, inspiring example. So one more thing is leadership at an organizational level, leadership at a market level is one thing, but leadership at a commitment to the climate, leadership at when I'm coming into the green material leadership, that's a challenge to all of us on the climate front, on the earth front. What are the strategies that your organization and you are adopting for low carbon steel and green materials?
Okay. In fact, it's a big, I can say in a big way.
Yes.
We are promoting green hydrogen. Okay. My plant in Khopoli, which is in Navi Mumbai, will be running on green hydrogen, which means we will produce hydrogen through the electrolysis route. Okay. And you must have seen green coal in the Kadapa region, Kurnool region. Okay. Abhishek is very expert in that. There is what is called pumped up storage. Water is taken up, and then from there it drops, and then the dropping water turns the blades. Okay, and then of course generate power. It's called pumped up storage. Okay, so green coal, and we have collaborated, and we are producing green energy from there. Okay, that's one. Second thing is, I told you hydrogen, green hydrogen in our plants, and through the electrolysis route. In fact, we have solar panels. And these solar panels help in giving the power for the electrolysis, and then hydrogen is generated. Of course, oxygen is also used, which comes out of it, and then hydrogen is used for various things. Normally, we have what is called cracking of ammonia. We require hydrogen for various purposes, for annealing and all that. And then normally we used to produce through a cracking of ammonia. Ammonia is NH cubed, nitrogen and hydrogen. So instead of that route, why not through electrolysis of water? So that is green hydrogen. That's one. And we have I'm putting a lot of solar panels in our place. And then in our factory and various factories, we have regenerative thermal oxidation, which what does it mean? All these flue gases, all these exhausts, which go out, they pollute the environment, and then they're also hot air. Okay. Now, instead of letting that air into the atmosphere, you sort of extract heat out of it. So when you extract heat out of it and recirculate that heat, it is both win-win situation. You are not polluting the environment with the heat and the exhaust, at the same time drawing back that heat, and that will economize on a propane and CNG consumption, because utilizing that heat, it's called regenerative thermal oxidizer. So now this way, we, instead of allowing the heat to escape, we capture back and reuse it. Okay, so that is one. And also in our steel manufacturing process, we use a lot of acid. I mean, normally we can release that the spent acid, I can release it to the environment, but we don't. We regenerate them, we recirculate and regenerate them. So these are some of the things which we do.
Amazing, sir. Amazing how you have gone so deep into the process and explained to us. I'm sure there's leadership stamped out there. Very nice, very nice. Thank you very much. So one more question is, in your experience, and as you are at a very high level in the organization and in the industry, do you find any difference? Of course, leadership in marketing, leadership in business are fundamentally two different things, but fundamentally connected as well. Steel marketing strategies, are they different from the marketing strategies that we adopt in other business domains? If so, what are those unique things that are domain specific for steel?
Okay, two things. Coming back to your earlier question, we have a policy to decarbonize by 2030. India has a target of 2070 to decarbonize. But however, we have taken a very ambitious target. So that is one point. Yes, now, water takes the shape of a container. Whichever container you put it, it takes its shape. So the expertise, marketing expertise, whichever field you put, steel or FMCG, it's the same thing. There's absolutely no difference. The emphasis can change. Emphasis can change. Here it is more volumes, there it is more value. So that's sort of a thing.
Volume versus value kind of emphasis that can vary. Wonderful. So I'll now request the audience to raise their hand. And in the meantime, I'll request Professor Prasad to come in for his next set of questions. Professor Prasad.
Yeah, I have one question. So you worked in Tata Steel, you worked in SAIL, you worked in SR, you worked in ArcelorMittal. So could you highlight a couple of one or two positive points of culture in each of this, which you think needs to be understood by the crowd around?
SAIL, Steel Authority of India, is an excellent training ground. I mean, public sector, for all the facilities, infrastructure, everything is available. Nothing like it. Tata Steel, yes. It's for perhaps one of the best cultures to ever. That's what makes Tata's in general and Tata Steel in particular, one of the greats. Of course, the current organization, Steel and ArcelorMittal, they're one of the best culture-wise. So, I mean, openness and what should I say, rewarding talent, meritocracy, not entitlement. So these are some of the things.
Fantastic, sir. The other question which I had when we spoke was about how do you groom people? How do you train and develop the staff, the employees? If you can take the case of ArcelorMittal.
Okay, we have high potential, high performance. There is this matrix which we do, and I monitor high performance. That is one, and high potential, that is another. So they are given a green channel. I mean, they're put on the fast track, so on and so forth. And then we take care of them. We have constant regular feedback. Okay, what upsets them? What are their aspirations? Instead of creating a graveyard for aspirations, we try to become a nursery for aspirations.
I think an extremely important point with respect to the leadership development. Very clear. Thank you very much, sir.
Amazing, sir. Very, very interesting as you are digging deeper into these examples. We have now invited Mr. Manoj Pandey to raise a question himself. Over to you, Mr. Manoj. We'll request you to unmute yourself. Yes, please raise the question. Manoj.
How many more such questions?
Sir, I have two questions. I hope you can accommodate both one. So the first question I have is that sir in his presentation referred to China multiple times, and I think this is a question that everybody wonders. So I mean, why we are not able to compete with Chinese? I mean, is it because we are a democratic nation, or we lack capacity, or there is some cultural issue why we can't compete with China? We almost have got a similar population. And the second question I have, sir, I mean, that is a kind of a personal one. So I'm in a middle leadership role. So I find this very this is an issue that I mean, what a middle level leader is supposed to be task oriented or to be people oriented, especially in today's very highly competitive business world. So these are two questions, sir, if you can answer, please.
Okay, let's talk about China. Chinese system allows speed. Here we have to take so many people along. So speed is a casualty in India. So that's important. Secondly, government subsidies are in a big way. I mean, I don't want to use the word, but China shamelessly subsidizes. Okay, they have some sort of a calibrated view that they are going to dominate the world in various. But that is something which is a little risky for the rest of the world. In fact, for example, chips and what you call as artificial intelligence, there is a book called AI Superpowers. So they have some sort of a strategy and a very calibrated thinking that they want to dominate the world. So that ambition is important. Of course, under Modi, we also have such an ambition, but still we have a lot of catching up to do. Okay. Again, hats off to the Modi government. At least he is the person who has given you a slogan. He has given you a target, $5 trillion economy. And then by 2048, $30 trillion economy. And no other politician has done this to us so far. He has given us the target. Okay, now then the next point is task and the people. Both are important. Task orientation and people orientation, both are important. That's the Shiva and Shakti, what I mentioned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to talk to the leader here directly? In the meantime, I want to mention that this session has been made possible with the connect given by Professor Sainath with us. So we are extremely thankful to him for providing this connect with Mr. Sridhar, and the coordination behind the scenes provided by Abhishek Bhattacharya. We would like to thank him and the entire team out there in the AMNS team as well, working with Mr. R.V. Sridhar. So if there are no questions, we have something popping up. What are the reasons, according to you, the Visakhapatnam steel plant incurring losses for so many years? Can you share some suggestions to turn around the plant? Wow, brilliant question.
Allow me to skip this question. I can't talk about it.
Okay, right, sir. So we would like to wrap it up here. We have completed the 1 hour that we have asked from.
It's an excellent asset. Huh? It's an excellent asset. Anyway.
Visakhapatnam Steel Plant is an excellent asset. Mr. Sridhar Rao, that is the response to you. I'm sure you are from Visakhapatnam. That's why you raised this question. So thank you very much, sir, for all these inputs and amazing lessons in leadership that you have provided to us throughout these 60 minutes of interesting session. The examples that you have provided right from the beginning in terms of referring to a very strong, deeply founded academic base for all these strategies like blue ocean strategies or speed or scanning the environment, anticipating change, building culture, and the that is domain-oriented lessons that you have also mentioned with respect to what you do out there in terms of practices like reward, practices like communication. That was very, very interesting methods of communicating, praising employees, and keeping the door open, coffee with the CEO and actually listening to them and crowdsourcing the ideas as and when required. I think these are all the lessons that we will take home, and we'll see how we can apply these in our own domains and keep learning from such stalwarts like you who have spared your time and expertise with us, sir. On behalf of ICFAI and all the leaders that we have joined here this evening, and on behalf of all the budding leaders who would like to learn from this session when we put it on archives, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your time, valuable time actually, and also putting together this wonderful presentation. And I must tell everyone that this copy is already with me. We are going to write a nice summary of this entire session. A senior professor, Professor Ved, is going to write a summary on this, and we will put it up on our archives along with the entire video of this conversation. We will share with Mr. Sridhar as well and take his inputs, and we'll keep learning from you. Sir, one last point. ICFAI has got an internationally acclaimed case research center. We are the second largest developer of cases in the world, next only to Harvard. And we can write definitely a case or two on the turnaround strategies that you have brought about and on your leadership styles that you have personally brought about. So we will connect with you. We will ask our case center head to connect with you. I will spearhead that conversation, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to write more about you, learn more about you, and keep sharing these learnings with the world outside so that we learn for leadership, which is the motto for ICFAI Online as an organization which is headed by Professor R. Prasad. So
thank you.
So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next Friday with yet another leader on Friday, 6:30 p.m., November 25th. Till then, keep learning about steel. It is more of steel. It is more of leadership. I think more of learning. See you next week on Friday, same time. Thank you all.
Thank you.